Welcome to the Common Man Sports Show. I am your host, Nick Antonianis, along with my co-host, Mike Marole and Owen Doran. It's been a while since we've done some basketball podcasts, so I wanted to get back into this. I'm assuming Mike and Owen wanted to do it as well, so we got a lot to talk about. So first off, we're going to start off with the most recent news that happened actually yesterday. So on January 23rd, the Bucks decided to let go of their first-year head coach, Adrian Griffin, who, when I saw this, I was kind of surprised. I mean, the Bucks are 30-13 to start the season, and then they just let him go. And then all I've been hearing is that he was a terrible coach. He couldn't coach this team, and he was just not the guy for this position. And then very quickly, the Bucks decided to say, "All right, we just hired a brand new head coach," and they ended up getting Doc Rivers, who is everyone knows who Doc Rivers is, a former Celtics head coach, Clippers head coach, and recently Sixers head coach. So, Owen, I'm going to give you this. What was your overall opinion about this firing? And do you think that Doc Rivers is the right guy for this Milwaukee Bucks team?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack with this move that happened. So initially, I think the signing of Adrian Griffin was not the right move for the Bucks, a team that was in the championship a few years ago. They won the championship a few years ago. They go out and make this huge move for Damian Lillard. They're in win now mode. They're a team that's looking to win in the next 5 years before Damian Lillard retires. So I think going out and getting a first year head coach was a weird move for the Bucks. I didn't think it really made a lot of sense. I thought that they would have gone for someone with a little more experience, some playoff series under their belt. But they went out and got Adrian Griffin, and to be honest, I think they made the right move in firing him. But I don't know if Doc Rivers was the right choice. You mentioned they're second in the East, 30-13, which is great so far, but they're 21st in defensive efficiency this year. They have been one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. It was only a few games ago they gave up 135 points, I think it was, to the Pistons. So for a team with Giannis, Bobby Portis, great defenders, in years past they've been a top defensive team, and since getting rid of Budenholzer, they have lost that. And I highly doubt Doc Rivers is the coach that's going to bring them there. He's not known for his defense, and even in the years past, he's struggled a lot in years past. So for a team that's looking to win, his playoff success in the past 5 seasons hasn't been up to par. Like, I have some numbers here. Doc Rivers in the playoffs overall, he's 111 and 104, so barely over 500. He's 16-32 when he has 3 wins in a 7-game series. He's lost 32 closeout games. He's lost 7 series when he's leading 3-2. He's lost 10 game sevens, which is an NBA record, and he's lost 12 series when his team has the lead, which is also an NBA record. So for a team that's looking to win a championship, the move makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. But Mike, you wanted to say
I
something?
was I was just gonna ask, why did they ever get rid of Budenholzer? Was they never missed the playoffs, did they? What's the reason for
They,
that?
I think it had to do with the first round exit, which, I mean, it was bad. But when you take into consideration Giannis missed some games, and the games he did play, he was playing with a bad back. And the Heat did go to the Eastern Conference Finals. It seemed abrupt. It seemed out of nowhere. It just seemed like the Bucks were panicking after a very embarrassing playoff loss.
And
I
Adrian
mean,
Griffin is just a former player. I never heard
well,
his head.
yeah, he was a former player.
Yeah, he was also an assistant with the Hawks for a few years.
What was kind of interesting about Boldenholzer was that he was always in the hot seat to begin with. I remember the year before he didn't win the championship, like that he won the championship. Excuse me. He's been in the hot seat. They're just like he needs to have a good season, or else he's gonna get fired. So of course that 1 year exit, you can kiss him goodbye. And I actually
Mhm.
saw a very interesting fact. Actually, once they hired Doc Rivers, the Bucks are going to be still paying Boldenholzer. They're still going to be paying Adrian Griffin, and now they're going to start paying Doc Rivers. They have to pay for 3 different head coaches. 2 of them they dismissed, which is already like in shambles anyway. And of course, you can always just say like, why the hell did they decide to fire their head coach when they are second in the Eastern Conference and they have a 30-13 record? Well, it's pretty difficult to have a record that's pretty bad if you have one of the best players in the league and one of the best point guards in the league in Giannis and Dame. So obviously the record says it all, but I've mentioned this before. If one of them is not doing well, kiss their chances of winning that game goodbye. I mean, this team overall, you don't really have anyone that has been stepping up. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Chris Middleton has Chris Middleton even been playing at all this season, or like he's been very quiet.
He's been in and out, and yeah, very quiet this season.
Yeah, and ever
He's
since
someone that they have to move off of. I mean, for the
yeah,
past few seasons, he's been battling injuries, and his production has declined.
exactly. I mean, it's been previous seasons where, especially in the postseason, and I mean, there was that one postseason with games like the series with the Celtics versus the Bucks. I think it was in Game 7. Chris Middleton didn't play. I mean, it didn't matter because the Celtics ended up destroying the Bucks. But in those type of games, you need to have your top players playing, and he just couldn't stay healthy in that situation ever since he got that massive contract by the Bucks. And you think that Giannis and Middleton were going to be getting more championships together. It's not going to be happening because he just couldn't stay healthy. So this whole situation of Doc Rivers now being the new head coach, my guess is that they're going to be having another first round exit. To be brutally honest with you, it doesn't look like that he's going to be the game changer, because a lot of people said that he was going to be the game changer for the Sixers. They couldn't even go past the second round, and they have been like that ever since Joel Embiid became a Philadelphia 76er. So I don't know how I really feel about this. I think it's going to be the same Milwaukee Bucks team. There's not going to be this magic that's going to be popping out of nowhere with this team. They still have the same players, but overall, it just looks like it's kind of in shambles for this Milwaukee Bucks team.
Yeah, I
And it
think
makes
they'll
you
get a
think.
bit.
No,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's gonna give them a bit of a boost. New coach coming in, just like any team in any sport, it's gonna give the team a bit of a boost. But I doubt it's gonna push them into May and really make a difference in the long run.
I was going to say, it makes you think that they also, Owen brought up those defensive stats. They lost Drew Holiday in the offseason to Owen's team. How do you
Yep.
replace a defensive guy like that? And one in my mind that I mentioned before and who just got traded and is on the trade block again is Bruce Brown. Could
Mhm.
they look at that? I'm not sure who their backup point guard is, but then again, Bruce Brown's a guy who he played center at times for Brooklyn Nets, so he could play anything.
Yeah, I think Bruce Brown's definitely someone that can go out. But I think another part of this whole, situation that I find interesting was the report that came out about the airing out session that happened after their loss to the Pacers in the in-season tournament.
Mhm.
And immediately, what I thought when I read that was Giannis and Dame are potentially a cancer in the locker room. They're divas. I mean, we've seen how Giannis responds to reporters who ask unfavorable questions about his stats or whatever it is, his behavior on the floor. And he gets very defensive, very kind of aggressive. Damian Lillard as well. We know he loves to go on Twitter and voice whatever he's thinking. So I think another potential is they've seen a first-year head coach tell them that they have to make these sacrifices, and they took it negatively. And instead of working with the coach, they decided to go to the front office and get rid of him. I think that's could be a potential reason why Adrian Griffin could have been gone, because I think all it takes is Dame or Giannis to say he's got to go, and then he's gone.
It's funny you say that because I actually saw a quote by Giannis by saying to one of the performers, to a reporter, excuse me, and they were like, "What is like a plan that you guys need to do to fix up?" Because you mentioned already that they're like one of the worst defending teams in the NBA. He goes, "We need to have a plan. What is our strategy? Are we going to give up a lot of open threes? Are we going to let them get in the paint? When are they going to post? When are they going to stay play one on one? I don't know what our strategy is right now. We are giving up everything." So that's something terrible to say when you are the top
Yeah.
player in the team and you're basically taking shots at your head coach. I mean, we've
Hmm.
been kind of seeing this recently about Giannis being very vocal against reporters. We've seen him being very vocal against refs. I mean, he is not afraid to open his voice in this situation. And in this
Hmm.
circumstance, he was basically very open in saying that he was frustrated about the playing style that Griffin was given to this Milwaukee Bucks team. It kind of shows that maybe they made the wrong. I mean, I can safely say they made the wrong decision of firing Boldenholzer because yes, yes, there was a first round exit. I understand that, but he still got them a championship. He still got the trust of a lot of the players. I mean, we saw someone like Brooke Lopez spark when he was that head coach. We saw Bobby Portis becoming a fan favorite by that specific head coach. I don't know if it's mainly because of him. Maybe, the fans were giving him a lot of momentum during the playoffs when he's like sparked, especially in the NBA finals. But still, like, they need to find the right person. Maybe this is just going to be a 1-year rental with Doc Rivers. And then after that, maybe you go out and push for a brand new head coach. But I really think they should go for a veteran head coach and not another first year, because they made this mistake already. So they want to go for someone who has experience and not someone that is just testing the waters. So that's kind of like what my opinion is like.
It's definitely going to be interesting as well when numbers come out. How long is Doc Rivers signing to, and how much is he signing for? Because another thing, he is on contract with ESPN as a broadcaster. So you already mentioned that they have Budenholzer on the books, they have Griffin on the books, and now they're going to have to pull away Doc Rivers, whatever he's getting at ESPN. I assume you're going to have to pay that and some. So just right now, they're not in a good situation as far as coaching goes. If Doc doesn't work out, are you forced to hold on to him because you're paying 3 coaches, or are the Bucks willing to pay 4 coaches? It's going to be interesting moving forward.
And I think it's going to be difficult because since they're paying so much for 3 coaches, it's going to be tough to think, are they going to even make any changes possibly during the draft? Not draft, excuse me, during the deadline. Are they going to possibly go out and try to get someone? Now, are they possibly going to try to push and get someone during the free agency, even though they have to pay for these 3 head coaches? This is just something that you need to think about going around this team. I mean, there's been a history of, before the Dame Lillard trade, they haven't made a crazy splash on a free agent. They haven't made a crazy splash on someone during the deadline. They always get small people and then they just run with it. So maybe there could be something that, like Mike said, maybe a Bruce Brown could be involved, the one who was involved during the Pascal Siakam trade, which we're going to be talking about in a bit. So I actually kind of want to change the topic right now and go to the most recent trade that has happened in the NBA. Actually, it was the same day. So on January 23rd, after the Charlotte Hornets shocked the Minnesota Timberwolves and beat Karl-Anthony Towns' 62-point performance, they announced that they have traded away their top point guard in Terry Rozier, a guy who is averaging, I believe, 25 points per game, one of his best seasons since he was a Charlotte Hornet. He has been traded to the Miami Heat, and the Miami Heat traded away Kyle Lowry and a 2027 first rounder out of the blue too. We all know that Rozier was going to be traded. We all knew that possibly the Heat were going to find some pieces to bounce back into that standings. So, Mike, I'm going to give you this. What was your overall opinion about this trade, and who ended up winning this trade overall?
So it's very surprising. Right away, you have to say the winner is the Heat because they are going for the chip. It's to me, it's surprising because I didn't know until 5 minutes ago when you guys told me Kyle Lowry's in the deal. Usually, when you see guys or teams adding pieces for the playoffs rentals, usually don't trade away a key player. I wouldn't say Kyle Lowry is that anymore, but still, you want to add, you maybe trade away the young guys or picks just to add to the roster. But the reason the Heat won is because Owen knows more than anybody. This guy was nasty when he was in Boston. They used to call him Scary Terry. He's a guy, he's averaging 25. He's a guy who could average 18. I feel like he was doing pretty well before LaMelo joined Charlotte. So it's a good trade for the Heat. They don't really need much. You have Jimmy Butler. Besides that, I'm not really sure what other holes are in that Heat offense. But then again, we don't have our boy Jackson here to defend me because I know I was about to open up some line here about the Celtics. But good. That's a good step in the right direction for the Heat.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. I have his stats right here. He's averaging 23, 3 rebounds, and then 6 assists on 45, 35, and 84 splits. So he's playing very well this season. I think he's a great addition for the Heat. But I think when I look at this trade, the only issue I have with it is when you look at the grand scheme of it, the Heat were looking to get Damian Lillard to begin the season. Then they were looking to get Drew Holiday. Then they were looking at DeJounte Murray, and now they've settled for Terry Rozier. So that's my only issue with it, is the Heat are struggling to add these big pieces that the teams in the East that they're looking to compete with already have or going to get. So that's going to be a big problem for them moving forward, I think, if they continue to struggle. And I think the main reason they struggle to add players is they're unwilling to move important pieces like Tyler Hero or like Duncan Robinson. I think we can all be fair in saying Kyle Lowry's pretty much washed. He's inching towards retirement. He wasn't even the staple piece for this trade. It's more like the first rounder is what you're getting out of it. So I think you didn't lose anything really if you're the Heat. So you win in that sense. But I think you lose in a sense is that you didn't really move the needle that much further. You didn't push yourself closer to a championship. And like Mike said, I have experience watching Terry Rozier. So while he can kind of turn it on and be a kind of gritty player, he has a great fit for the locker room. I think he could butt heads with Jimmy Butler in some sense. That one, I think it was 2017 or 2018 when he went on the run with the Celtics, and it became the Terry show. It was just brick after brick after brick. He shot the ball almost every possession in the fourth quarter. That's just something he does. He's very full of himself, which is good and bad. But I think in the long run, I could see it being more of an issue for the Heat than being a benefit. But it'll only time will tell. Only time will tell with him. I think he does add some needed offense that they needed.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I'm gonna say that yes, it is very much needed offense. I actually saw this like pretty interesting stat right here. When he was with the Celtics, he was more of like a sixth player. He didn't really start that much. He only made around 30 starts in his 4-year tenure with the Boston Celtics, and the highest amount of average points that you would have was only 13. And then ever since he signed with the Charlotte Hornets, he has been getting 18 points per one season, 20 points, 19 points. So when he starts, he produces, which is a very big thing. So you're going to be expecting him to go straight into that starting role. I also kind of want to say that, yes, I know that the Miami Heat, they've been trying to push for top players. Like they wanted to push for Lillard, like you mentioned. They want to push for Murray. But in my personal opinion, I think the situation of him going to the Heat, like them getting Terry Rozier, was honestly kind of a steal because you weren't really getting that much out of it because you're trading away a retired, like going to be retired player, and then you don't even know what's going to be happening with that 2027 first rounder. It could possibly be a bust. It could possibly be, something you can be using for a future trade. So I personally think that the Heat kind of stole this trade because you get someone who is having a very shocking, very good season, and then already adding it into your team who there has been some players that have been struggling for the Heat. I wish that Jackson was here so he can mention the specific players that could fill in the holes for Terry Rozier. And then another thing is like we have no idea how he's going to be playing during the postseason because when he was with the Celtics, obviously that's where he shined. But ever since he was a Charlotte Hornet, the Charlotte Hornets never sniffed the playoffs. So
Yeah,
he's been just kind of just chilling in the regular season. He would play, 70 to 80 games. Well, the most amount of games that he's ever played was 73 games with the Charlotte Hornets. And that was a season where he averaged 19 points. So he's going to be averaging those games. And then he'd be like, all right, now time to go to Cancun and just casually relax during the offseason.
yeah.
So we don't know what's going to be happening with him during the postseason. Maybe he'll just shock everyone and, play like a different person like he used to, or he's going to be like the brick master and just build houses with the shots that he's been taking when he was with the Celtics. We don't know because, he hasn't played in the playoffs since 2019 when he was with the Celtics. So
Yeah. I think that's definitely a good take because he's very much so a boomer bust kind of player. And he has had that time to mature since leaving the Celtics. The Celtics had a disaster season that year. It was injury after injury, which put Terry Rozier in the position to be the star in the playoffs. So he's had time to work on his game and mature as a player. So maybe it is a different look come playoff time this year. So it'll be interesting to see.
So we're gonna go back. We're gonna go into our big part of our show today. Obviously, we've been hinting at this for a couple of weeks now since our last show. I know that Santino mentioned it in his takes about Pascal Siakam possibly being in the deadline and being traded. And the rumor was going around that he was going to be traded to the Kings because the Kings needed a piece. But we kind of knew already that the Kings were not going to trade him because, Siakam wants to get that big contract. And we got breaking news a couple of days ago. I think it's been over a week now since that Pascal Siakam and the Pacers have agreed on a trade that sends Pascal Siakam and the Raptors end up getting back Bruce Brown and Jordan Nora and 3 first-round picks, and then just to have the Pelicans also were in the conversation and they got some cash consideration, so they got some money out of it. We can safely say that the Pelicans won that trade because they just got some money. But Owen, I'm going to give you this. Was this the best opportunity for Pascal Siakam to get this big contract, and who at the end of the day would end up winning this trade?
I think this definitely was the best situation for him to get paid. The other two teams that were in conversation were the Warriors and the Kings, of course. The Kings kind of exited the conversations pretty early. And for situation, he's going to be the number 2 guy moving forward in Indiana. So he's going to get he's going to get paid. He's going to get a max contract. He's going to get what he wants there. But for the Pacers, I think they shot themselves in the foot with this trade. They have a really young team with, they have Tyrese Halliburton leading the charge as their point guard, probably the best point guard this season so far. Benedict Matherin's great off the bench. I know that they also have Aaron Nemhard, Aaron Naismith as well. They have good young pieces, and they just threw away 3 firsts, 2 that are coming up in this year's draft, 2 24 picks, and then a 2026 pick for Pascal Siakam, who in his first 3 games has not shown that he's worth 2 picks. In his first 3 games, they're 0-3. I'll give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt that they didn't have Halliburton, but 17, 6, and 4 on 50, 33, and 60 is not very good. And they go to Philadelphia for their next game. So it's most likely going to be 0-4 in their first 4 with Pascal Siakam. And I don't see a situation where he develops his game and takes another step. There's already that kind of gap between him and Halliburton. So I really think the Pacers shot themselves in the foot because they'll extend him in the summer, give him a massive 5-6 year deal, whichever it is, and they're gambled their future away for it. And I highly doubt Pascal Siakam will be in the conversation among the All-Stars in the league, the top players.
I agree. I think that's a really good point. I think if the Pacers want to make the best of that deal, they have to go pretty far in the playoffs this year, or at least go far enough these next 3 years where those first-round picks are pretty much second-round picks. At first thought, thinking of Pascal Siakam joining the Pacers, it's like a good idea. I can't really think of the 4 they have. I think matching it with Miles Turner, getting Miles, get all the rebounds, and this guy who could actually kind of shoot a little bit is a good idea. And you think like you had like playoff experience with this guy, but now that I think of it, when has he really been in the playoffs besides that one 2019 run when he was with was he in 2019?
He was in the bubble. I believe he was in the bubble.
Probably.
And,
I think like half
during
the
that
league
season.
was.
Yeah, they lost to the Celtics in the bubble, but that was a first-round exit. Other than that, I mean, they've struggled in the playoffs. They're not getting someone who's well experienced in the playoffs. Even that one run with Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi was running the team. It was just Kawhi and the rest of them.
Like the idea is when you have all these young guys, you want to bring some veteran presence, at least playoff experience, and that's just the theme across all sports. But Siakam's not really a guy that has that much playoff experience. Now, I haven't seen his game as much. I remember in 2019 he was balling. He was one of the young stars that was going to take over Toronto. But since then, I don't really know. I mean, he's not going to be that guy you look to in Indiana, thankfully, or else it'd be a really shitty trade. But I think the Raptors actually end up winning this one, even though like they are trading away Bruce Brown, which actually might be a plus. They might get more picks from this.
Yeah,
It just might just be the beginning. So Toronto definitely won, and the Pelicans, of course.
Yeah, I think Toronto have kind of blown up their situation perfectly, trading OG and Siakam. They got 2 young players from the Knicks and some seconds. They got Bruce Brown, who they can flip for some more firsts on top of 3 firsts. I think the Raptors definitely won this trade, although the Pacers got the better player. I just wonder in 5 years' times, what are the Pacers going to be? Because I think they kind of did this it was kind of out of nowhere. I think they jumped the gun on it. They have a very young team, and they do need to add a second star next to Halliburton, but I don't think they needed to rush and make a huge move like this for someone like Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, this was kind of like out of left field in my opinion. The whole situation of just Siakam going to the Pacers, I was kind of like a little bit surprised of this happening and seeing the whole report that they traded away 3 first rounders. Siakam is not like, even if he was playing himself when he was during the NBA finals, he was still, in my opinion, not worth 3 first rounders. And yes, I assume that he's going to get that big contract for the Pacers. They're going to be possibly having Halliburton and him play for the next 5 years together. And like you mentioned before, we're going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because they haven't played together yet. So like we'll know how Halliburton and Siakam will gel together. So maybe possibly this can be something we can see in maybe many futures that they can actually work together, or maybe this is going to be a horrible situation. But I'm actually going to say that the Raptors absolutely stole this trade. And so far this season, they have done a phenomenal job by getting young pieces and building this future core. They already have, I believe, 3 first rounders and a second rounder, from like one from the New York Knicks and then 3 from the Pacers. And I expect them to go straight into trading Bruce Brown, and they can get another first rounder out of that. And this kind of reminds me, this is going to be like a very random take to say, but I don't really care. This kind of reminds me of the whole entire trades that the OKC Thunder did by trading away Westbrook and then trading away Paul George. And then they ended up getting like 7 first rounders, and one of them ended up becoming Shy. So this is, I believe that the Raptors are doing a phenomenal job by just pushing the button and just making as many trades and then build for this future. And they already have a lot of picks out of this. And then they can, let's just say they have a good future core and they're in a good position that they could possibly make a good run. You can use those picks and then you can go and try to get someone who's a big future, and you can have that for your future. Cause that's exactly what they did when they went to go get Kawhi. They trade away their franchise player in DeMar DeRozan, but they got a championship out of that. But now it's time to rebuild again. And I think they're doing a very good job with it.
Yeah, I think they're doing an extremely good job. I wonder where they send Bruce Brown. I know there's a ton of suitors. I think the Knicks are in the talks for Bruce Brown. I think that would be one of the interesting teams. But I think that what makes that even more interesting is the Knicks and Pacers are kind of on par with each other right now, kind of neck and neck. And the moves that the Knicks have made so far have been much, much better. And if they go on and add Bruce Brown, they're just taking another step above the Pacers. I think the Pacers just jumped the gun on this one, and they should have been patient, let Halliburton play a few seasons, let Mathurin, because Mathurin is someone who could potentially be a 20-plus point scorer. Right now he's off the bench, but move him into the 2 guard. Him and Halliburton could potentially be stars in the future. I think it's going to hurt some of the development for guys like Jalen Smith. He's going to be moved to the bench a bit more, unless they can move Miles Turner and get him back into the starting lineup. But I know it's going to hurt them development wise. I know they want to move Obi Toppin as well now. Kind of giving up on him. So I just think the Pacers are in a weird spot where they're getting rid of a lot, bringing in a lot, and nothing kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats. I'm looking at it right now. So right now the Knicks are in 5th place in the conference, with 7 games behind first place, and the Pacers are in 7th with 10 games behind. And I mean, the Eastern Conference is always super close anyway. Like, yes, the Cleveland Cavs right now, they've won 8 in a row, but if they lose and then the Knicks win, they jump up to first, and the Cavs go down to 5th. So it's super tight right now. And
Yeah.
what's pretty interesting is that the Heat and the Pacers both making shocking trades, and they're both so neck and neck. So maybe, once both of those teams starts clicking and their pieces start clicking, there's going to be a much more difference in this Eastern Conference. But we'll see what honestly happens. But overall, I was just shocked about this, and I expect that very, very soon. I mean, we only have a couple of weeks left until the deadline happens. We're going to be expecting other big names to possibly being dealt. I know that there's been rumors about Murray being dealt, and I know that Mike made a prediction about possibly Trae Young being dealt. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, maybe they're going to just throw this like crazy curveball at us and say like, someone that's never been in a conversation being traded. So buckle your seats. This is going to be a very interesting one going forward. So
Yeah. One team I'd definitely keep my eye on would be the Bucks. I think the Bucks are definitely going to be making a trade within the
Yep.
next 2 weeks for a guy like Alex Caruso who could improve their defense greatly, or maybe even DeJounte Murray, get someone next to Damian Lillard, pick up a little bit of his defensive slack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting about the Bucks because yes, they are in shambles right now, and I don't know what's really happening in the clubhouse. I mean, they seem to be connecting well, but it's just like they couldn't gel with the head coach. So, I mean, you can make rumors going around that Dame was a cancer. You can make rumors that Giannis is not the guy that should be leading this team, but I personally think it is. He's been doing this ever since he stepped foot into a basketball court when he was a Milwaukee Buck, but I think that some trade needs to happen or some push needs to happen for this Bucks team to get over that hump and start to actually be a team that could push for an NBA Finals. Because the last time that the Milwaukee Bucks made it was when they won the championship. I believe that the next couple of years they lost in the second round and they lost in the first round. So they're due for a push again because I think Giannis wants it and I think Milwaukee needs it badly as well. So maybe even a small push. Maybe if you can go out and even get a Bruce Brown or get an Alex Caruso, that can help you something.
Would you
Something.
agree maybe they coddle Giannis a little bit too much over in Milwaukee? Because you're saying I know Giannis wants it, but one thing
Yeah,
that kind of tells me that Giannis doesn't want it is the fact that he lets his brother in the locker room every day. He's one of the worst players I've seen in the league, and he's taking up a roster spot. He's taking
it's
up
true.
cap space. So there's just so many questions about Giannis and how he operates on a daily basis. Of course, we'll never know. It's behind the scenes stuff.
Obviously, yeah.
But I just wonder, like, has that ever been brought to his attention that his brother is bad, probably shouldn't be in the league, probably shouldn't be in the G League, and it's hurting their team? He's going out there and he's playing terribly.
He probably
Yeah,
has that Kylian Mbappe contract where he could do whatever he wants.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I think that I get what you're saying. I mean, Thanasis is a guy that if he steps in the court, he plays 5 minutes when they're down by 30 or they're up by 30. And then, he's there because he has the last name of Atentacupo. That's literally
Yeah.
the only reason why that he is stepping on the court. In my personal opinion, I mean, if he decides to get removed from a Bucks team, Giannis is going to immediately say, "Go fuck yourself. I want to be traded." Like, I'll be brutally honest, like, which
I'm
sucks. I get that, but it's just like I don't know really because like yes, he doesn't really play much, but the thing is, the Bucks don't even have that great of a bench, and they don't even play their bench players even that much. Giannis and Dame, they literally play basically 40 minutes a game, and they don't even have like who they still have Pat Covington, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
plays sometimes, but at the end of the day, like if you look at like the bench, they're always averaging like 15 points a game. So
Yeah.
like
They
that
definitely need to go out and find some reinforcements. I know that they have Pat Connaughton on the trade block with Bogdanovich as well. So I mean, expect those two to be moved, but I don't know. A lot has to change with the chemistry with the Milwaukee Bucks.
yeah, they're currently playing against the red hot Cleveland Cavs right now.
Yep.
It just started, so like it's 8-4 Milwaukee. Obviously, that's gonna change in the later on, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens throughout the next couple of days. Maybe some crazy spark is gonna happen for some big team that's gonna happen. I don't like at the end of the day, like obviously we've been hearing some names going back and forth, but I personally don't think there's gonna be this crazy splash. They're going to be just small pieces that can help with connecting them because I know that the Knicks also mentioned that they're not going to be pushing for a star. They're going to be trying to get someone who could possibly start on their roster, but also can be a good bench player. And I've been hearing Alec Burks is also a possibility for the Knicks.
Coming back.
Could be coming
Bring
back. I know
bring back
he
Alec
was
Burks.
yeah, he was there during their push when they got eliminated in the first round by the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
Good veteran piece to have. I think
Off
he's
the
been
bench, yeah.
so like he can be someone to place. He can eat up some minutes. Not a Taj Gibson who gets tired after 15 minutes. What
Yeah.
the hell? So I
I
think
think
it's
for
just
the
gonna be
Knicks, though, For the Knicks, though, they have a huge opportunity. I think it would be a huge missed opportunity if the Knicks don't use that Fournier contract in a trade. He
Exactly.
sits on
Yeah,
the
I
end of the
know.
bench. He never plays.
I
What
know,
does he
which
do?
he
Go
doesn't do.
out and get someone. Go get Bruce Brown. You're practically trading nothing. You have first rounders from the Pistons, the Mavs, that are most likely going to be deferred into the next season or into second rounders. So you're really not losing much. I think the Knicks, if they want to be serious this season, they have to trade Evan Fournier. It would just be
But
a huge missed opportunity.
people are teams willing to take Fournier's contract? That's my only opinion, like question.
Since it's
17 mil.
expiring, I think it's 18 mil. It's an expiring contract. I mean, if you're the Raptors, a team that's not really looking to do anything this season, you're holding on to Bruce Brown's $22 million contract. Throw it over to the New York Knicks. Get a second and a first rounder out of it. Get something. You lose Fournier in the summer, and you open up some cap space.
Do you guys see Josh Hart's tweet after the Knicks beat the Nets yesterday?
I actually
Yeah,
didn't know.
that was a pretty bad take from Candace Parker.
Oh
I
no,
actually didn't know.
Or is that not what you're? Oh, that's not what
I'm
you're talking
talking
about.
about So after the Nets lost to the Knicks yesterday in the Barclays Center, a reporter asked Mikal Bridges how it felt, hearing "Let's
Oh
go
yeah.
Knicks"
Oh,
and
I
all
did.
that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah, I
and
did see
then
that. Yeah.
Josh Hart said, "Come over," and that's actually been a rumor where Mikal Bridges might get moved. I think the Nets are smart enough. I think he's
They're not
staying.
gonna
That's
do
a
it.
guy. That's a guy. You trade KD for that guy. You're building around that guy. Him and Cam Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
the
don't see
idea
any
of him going
situation.
going on the freaking J train,
He,
whatever the hell it is, that's not happening. F train.
Josh Hart
Yeah.
has been trying to recruit Mikal Bridges for so I think this whole entire offseason
Since he's gotten to the Knicks.
yeah,
Trying to get that Villanova back.
ever since he
Fuck
got into the
Villanova.
Knicks, and then ever since Donte DiVincenzo signed with the Knicks, he was like, "All right, Mikal, you're next up." Like he's been trying his
Next
best
is
to
going
push.
to be Jay Wright.
Yeah,
There's
Tom
not.
Thibodeau
In
out.
no world do I see Bridges going to the Knicks. I just
No.
think the Nets are way too intelligent. When they traded him initially for Kevin Durant, they got calls from teams offering 5, 6, 7 first rounders.
Mhm.
So I don't see what the Knicks could offer them to try and pull him away.
No,
It would
I
have to
doubt it.
include Randall as well, which I doubt the
Yeah,
Nets want.
I've been hearing like this like random trade proposal that would have been like Randall, Fournier, and then like 4 first rounders because the Knicks have 6 first rounders, and I'm like, that's not even. I personally don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think the Knicks would even do that type of trade
Yeah.
because
No.
obviously like they've been trying. It's no surprise that the Knicks have been trying to push to trade away Julius Randle, but I really don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. Maybe during the offseason, they could possibly try to find a piece to trade Randall so they can go for that crazy push to get this like top player. Maybe get someone like a Karl-Anthony Towns, which I don't see happening. But at the end of the day, like I don't see Mikal Bridges even leaving or even stepping foot away from Brooklyn because I think he's found a home there. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you heard, but like when Mikal Bridges, like when he heard that question, he was just like, I mean, it kind of sucks when you're getting booed at your hometown.
Yeah,
Because
it
there's
definitely
Knicks
sucks for
fans there.
Brooklyn. But I think it's kind of expected almost. You moved here in the early 2010s. The Knicks have been here for 60, 70 years at that point. Like, what do you expect as a
Yeah.
Brooklyn Net fan?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's never gonna
I went
change.
to a playoff game in 2022, Nets Celtics. I saw more Celtics jersey than Nets jerseys.
Hmm.
Like the Nets don't have a fan base, which is maybe one reason why you could see Bridges leave in the future. But in reality, they don't have home court ever.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, there was since you're mentioning about like times that you've been to the Barclays, I was at one game where the Nets were against the Phoenix Suns, and it was the year after the Suns made it to the NBA Finals. So I was like, I'm gonna be seeing Devin Booker, I'm gonna be seeing CP3. I was in a crowd full of Phoenix Sun fans.
Yeah.
Phoenix Sun fans. How the hell did they decide to make the trip and go to Brooklyn to watch? I mean, my personal opinion is that they wanted to see KD. I mean, KD had the quietest 38-point game I ever saw, personally. But I was in a crowd full of Suns fans, and it was honestly shocking because you're in Brooklyn, you're not in Phoenix. So I mean, and also like there's been so much stuff about Brooklyn. I mean, they trade like Kyrie, Harden, and Kevin Durant were a thing, and then Steve Nash was a head coach, and then he left. I mean, I'm
It was a
hoping
clown
that
show.
yeah, I'm hoping that Bridges can build a more future for this Brooklyn Nets team because they personally need it at the end of the day. I mean,
it would be cool because like I mean the NBA, we all know they're doing their rivalry week.
yeah,
It's a bit it's a bit lackluster for being honest. I don't
it
remember the
is.
Nuggets and Sixers being considered rivals, or the Lakers or Warriors. Not sure when these rivalries began, but I mean New York Nets would be a rivalry. The battle in New York. It would be nice to see in 4 years' time them actually going head to head in the playoffs. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, I just recently saw a stat, and the Lakers are against the Clippers today, I believe. And people say, like, this is a rivalry. I literally saw that out of the 45 games that the Celtics and the Clippers play against each other, the Clippers are 36-9 against the Lakers.
Yeah,
What the hell?
Well, that's
that's not
Rivalry
a
my ass.
rivalry. I mean, yeah, I remember every year since, I mean, obviously the Lakers have had the championship in 2020, but since Kawhi joined the Clippers have kind of had the Lakers number. I mean, they've
Yeah.
beaten them almost every single time. They're
Mhm.
just unfortunate when it comes to May and, Kawhi's injured, Paul George is injured, and all these other things come up.
That's
But
the
I
problem.
mean,
That's the
they
problem.
they kind of kick the Lakers' ass almost every year.
Oh, 100%.
Even 10
Yeah.
years ago, the Lakers were they had
Yeah.
Kobe. Maybe I'm not sure if he
They
left by
were
then, but
yeah, but they were going through their drought.
yeah, and the Clippers had CP3, Prime, Blake, DeAndre Jordan, all that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like this Clippers team, they have crazy like they have pieces that, they were not gelling with their former team and now they're starting to kind of find themselves like in my personal opinion, I don't think James Harden's ever going to be like his Houston Rockets self. I mean,
Yeah.
he's changed his game so much. He became more of like an assist type of guy. He like people can say he's not a playmaker, but if you're playing with Kawhi Leonard and you're playing with Paul George, you're going to start to become one. And people have been giving a lot of flock to Russell Westbrook by not being the guy that he used to be and saying that the Lakers destroyed his career. But ever since he became a Clipper, he's been
Hmm.
okay with riding the bench. Yes, he's not
Yeah.
the, averaging triple double machine like he used to when he was with the Thunder, but he's starting to find his game a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this Clippers team is starting to connect well after the trade that happened with Harden back in Halloween, and everyone's like, you are the problem. And then after that, they started to click well, and I think they're like third
Yeah.
in the Western Conference right now. So
Yeah.
like they're
Since
starting to
since the
connect
Harden
now.
trade, I know they had a really rough start when he first got there. They lost the first few games, but since then, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the league.
Mhm.
Kawhi Leonard's missed a few games here and there, but other than that, he's been pretty healthy. Paul George has been pretty healthy. So I mean, if everything goes right for them, the Clippers would be a team to look for come June, make the finals, and actually compete for the finals.
This is true. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I know people can mention like, yeah, Paul George is old and he's starting to like becoming a walking injury, which is true, but he's been doing pretty well with staying healthy, and arguably he's been one of their best players on this
Hmm.
team. And it's hard to say that when you're having someone like Kawhi and Harden on your team, but Paul George has been basically the difference maker on this team for sure. So with that, that wraps up
I've one.
today. Well, go ahead, Owen. Go ahead.
I was actually, yeah, I wanted to end on one last thing. I wanted to know if your thoughts on the report that came out today from Grant Hill, who is a part of Team USA. He reported today that Draymond Green was excluded from the 41-man practice pool and will not be going to Paris this summer. Just want to know
Um,
what you guys kind of thought about that.
He's a bum. He shouldn't be.
that's true.
They probably think
I
he's scamming people under the Eiffel Tower. Absolutely not.
Per-
Right?
Personally, I think it's the right decision. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot of stuff going around with Draymond. I mean, his whole problem that he has like this anger problem. He got suspended like 20 plus games
Hmm.
after he socked Yusuf Nurkic in the mouth. But I think this is the right decision. I know that he was part of the World Cup team and he was part of the past two Olympics that they were a part of, but at this point, I mean, the Olympics is a completely different game. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw like the Dream Team documentary with LeBron, D Wade, Kobe, and all that. European basketball is so much more different than NBA basketball. So like,
Hmm.
I think that who is the head coach for is it Steve Kerr who's going to be the head coach for the Olympics?
I believe
is it
it's either Steve Kerr or Greg Popovich, or I'm not
okay?
entirely sure anymore.
Okay,
Might
I
be
knew
Grant Hill even.
it was Mike Krzyzewski for a bit, but I know he's retired. And I
Yeah.
don't think he's gonna
Hmm.
come out of retirement to play for to do the Olympics. But I think at this point there is no like situation they're like, okay, let's put in Draymond Green because he's Draymond Green. I really
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna have any circumstance because also if you looked at the 41 practice pool that they put out there, there's only 15 spots for that USA team and it's stacked. So
Yeah.
I think it's fine that Draymond is excluded out of it because I don't even think that he was even going to be touching that 15-man roster anyway.
Hmm.
So,
But to make it even more difficult, only 12 guys can actually be sent to the Olympics.
okay.
So I
So
mean,
it's
they'll
really
only
12.
be sending 1 or 2 big men. And now with the Joel Embiid switching his citizenship, which you can have your opinions on that. He's
To
not from
what?
here, but
Oh, he's
he switched
American
his
now?
citizenship to American, so he can qualify for
Ho, ho,
America.
ho, ho.
Yeah, Team USA.
Kind of
I
sounds
don't
like this.
Can stick
personally,
jersey?
I'm not the biggest fan of those types of things. I know it's
It's
really popular in soccer.
Yeah,
Teams
soccer it
mhm,
happens
guys
a lot.
moving. I'm not a big fan of it. I think when you're playing internationally, it's the pride that you're playing
yeah.
for. What does a gold medal from the United States mean for Joel Embiid? I think it means absolutely nothing to him.
I
I
mean,
think
that's
it's
going to be
kind of just
his
him trying to
only
get some
chance.
silverware.
It's going to be his
Yeah,
only chance of getting a trophy of some kind
yeah,
because I don't see the
just
Sixers
pretty
making a
pathetic.
chance. I mean, it's also the same thing with the recently with Paolo Banchero when he decided
Yeah,
to not go for Team Italy and now go for Team USA,
yeah.
and people from Italy were furious about it. And if you looked at the roster, Banchero was right there for the Team USA. So
Hmm.
I really think it's just like deciding on who's the better team and who you're going to push for type of thing. But at the end of the day, I
But
mean,
with
this is the
with
Olympics.
Bankero, I kind of understand where he came from because he swore like dependent or whatever it is that he was going to play with Italy from a
Hmm.
very very young age. He was
Yeah,
saying this when he was like 14 years old. So I think at 14 he just didn't know that he was going to be good enough for Team USA.
that's
So I just
true.
don't think that was in his plans. But I think as he got older, he kind of was like, I can actually make this thing and win this thing with these guys. So I
Yeah.
think that's what made him change. But I think
Yeah,
even that, like these new
like
young guys like Paulo, there's the reasons why Draymond Green is probably not going to be
Oh,
included.
yeah,
definitely not.
like in soccer, like guys only join like you look at the USA team in soccer. They're
Hmm.
not. It's not like there's probably like 2 guys here from America, and you only
Okay.
join like these guys are from Netherlands, England. They only come here
Hmm.
because they can't make that team. So it really is chasing
Yeah,
Civil War.
yeah, it's
But
really
I
it's
don't
interesting.
bring shade to Bancaro. I mean, it'd be nice he played for Italy, but it's
Yeah.
whatever.
But I agree with the idea of just keeping Draymond here. We have enough foreign issues going on right now. Don't need Biden having to deal with Draymond locked up in Paris for assaulting somebody.
Or
Free
stealing some
grind or free green.
or
They're gonna,
or stealing some sunglasses from
yeah,
Oh yeah,
we're
don't
gonna have
bring
to
don't bring Lamelo on
send
the
Europe
ball.
another
BBBs.
weapons dealer, another trade
um
coming in.
yeah. So okay, so now that's gonna be it for
Yeah,
today's show. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow us on X, follow us on TikTok, and also follow us on Instagram and YouTube. And be sure to check out our websites when we get some articles out there. We've been starting to get some more during this NFL postseason, and then we're going to be getting some more once MLB season comes around and spring training comes in. 1 month until we get to see some baseball, which is going to be pretty exciting. So thank you guys so much for watching the Common Man Sports Show. I'm Nick Antoniadis alongside Mike Marol and Owen Doran. And I hope you guys have a great day.